ever get that feeling, that instant spark? Like, whoa, this could be the one, even when you barely know the person.
That's interesting. I mean, everyone experiences that kind of thing so differently. Some folks almost never feel that instant connection, but others, they get it all the time.
Welcome to the Sex Science Podcast, where we turn the latest peer-reviewed research on intimacy and sexuality into fun, accessible conversations. Generated by AI and fact-checked by experts, the Sex Science Podcast was created by LaShaw to empower you through knowledge. So, join us as we explore pleasure, relationships, human connection, and everything in between.
Have you ever wondered why some people just seem to fall in love, instantly? Well, for others, it takes ages. Well, today we're diving into a psychological concept that might shed some light on that. It's called emophilia.
Right, emophilia. And what's really fascinating here, I think, is that it describes this tendency, sometimes quite strong, to fall in love really fast and also pretty frequently.
Fast and frequent. That's right.
It's best understood as a want process, driven by the excitement, the sheer reward of that new romance feeling, rather than a need that might come from insecurity.
So less about insecurity and more about the rush.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You might have seen it, someone says, I love you after one date, or maybe you yourself have thought, wow, this could be the one, based on, well, honestly, not much information yet.
Okay, yeah.
So this deep dive, we're going to unpack the main findings around this often kind of overlooked way people connect romantically.
Okay, so let's unpack that. It's not just the speed, you said, but also how often someone falls. But how does this actually differ from, let's say, anxious attachment in relationships? Or even, someone who's just more into casual stuff?
That's a really crucial question, because there are overlaps. You see moderate correlations, maybe like 0.20 to 0.35, with anxious attachment in some studies.
Okay, so some link.
Some, but emophilia is distinct. Anxious attachment, that's typically conceptualized as an I need you process, right?
Yeah.
Often seen as sort of a defense against potential abandonment.
Right, that makes sense. Fear-based, almost.
Kind of, yeah. Emophilia, though, it's different. It's more of an I want you hyperactivity. It's driven by fun, by reward, the thrill of that early stage.
And it's not the same as sociosexuality either.
No, that's another important distinction. Sociosexuality is more about sexual interest outside of strong emotional bonds. Emophilia is really focused on the falling in love part, the emotional connection, even if it forms rapidly. And they actually show different profiles when you look at the big 5 personality traits.
Interesting. Okay, so if it's distinct, what are the real-world outcomes? This is where the rubber meets the road, isn't it? What does the research actually find happens for people high in emophilia?
Well, yeah, the findings are pretty clear and sometimes raise some concerns. Research suggests that individuals high in emophilia might not engage in the same kind of, let's say, natural screening process for partners.
Meaning they ignore red flags.
Pretty much. That intense want for the connection, that romantic feeling, can kind of override caution. Glaring red flags might get rationalized away or just missed.
Okay, wow. And that could lead to problems, obviously.
Definitely. It can lead to health risks, for one. Some studies show links to more unprotected sex.
Well, why?
Well, the thinking is that when someone feels intensely in love, things like condoms can suddenly feel like barriers to intimacy, interruptions to the connection.
Okay.
And beyond that, they also seem to be more prone to all forms of infidelity, but especially emotional infidelity.
That idea of ignoring warning signs is powerful. It really highlights how strong that want feeling must be. It overrides judgment.
It seems that way sometimes. And there are other quite striking findings, too.
Like what?
Well, another significant one is an attraction to individuals with what researchers sometimes call dark side traits. Think narcissism, for example.
Whoa. Why is that?
Because those individuals can be incredibly charming, very captivating, especially on first meeting. That initial charm really appeals to someone looking for that intense connection fast. Of course, that charm often wears off or sours later on.
Right, the classic initial charm.
Exactly. And get this, some studies even show that people high in emophilia are at a higher risk of perjuring themselves, like lying under oath for a romantic partner.
Seriously, even if they haven't known them long?
Yeah, even irrespective of how long they've known them, which is pretty remarkable. It speaks to the intensity of that immediate bond. And they also tend to invest very heavily, very quickly, loaning money, offering a place to live, making really big sacrifices early on.
Which must make it hard to leave if things go bad.
Terribly hard.
Yeah.
Because of cognitive dissonance, right? They've put so much in. It's incredibly difficult to admit, even to themselves, that it was maybe a mistake based on that initial rush.
So, okay, pulling this together,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway for you listening? Emophilia, it's not presented as some kind of disorder, right? It's a trait.
Exactly. It's not a pathology. It's a measurable individual difference. But understanding this want-driven process, how it's different from other relationship styles like anxious attachment, and knowing these potential real-world outcomes, that's really valuable.
Valuable for navigating your own connections or understanding others.
Both, I think. Knowledge is always most useful when you can actually understand it and really apply it. Recognizing emophilia helps us appreciate that there are just diverse ways people approach romance. So talked a lot about the risks. Are there any good things about emophilia?
Yeah, that's a great point. Emophilia isn't inherently bad.
Okay.
Some researchers think it could actually be beneficial sometimes.
Really? Like what?
Well, people with high emophilia, they might find it easier to connect with others.
Yeah.
Make new friends, new relationships. They can develop feelings of closeness so quickly, it makes them seem more approachable, more likable.
So their intensity is actually a good thing for building relationships.
Totally. Could be romantic, could be just friendships.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And think about, if you're in a new place or going through a big life change, being able to connect quickly, that's a huge advantage. And there's another potential benefit. It has to do with that investment model of commitment. So we said how those quick investments can backfire with emophilia. But the flip side is those same intense feelings, if the relationship's good, they can make it even more satisfying.
So if you fall in love with someone who's actually good for you, and they feel the same way.
Those strong feelings at the beginning, they can make the whole thing even better.
Wow. So it's like the same passion that could be a problem with a narcissist. It can actually make things amazing with the right person.
Exactly.
So it's all about balance then.
It really is.
Yeah.
Knowing yourself, knowing how you tend to feel things, and using that to make good choices.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
But this emophilia research, it goes beyond just relationship stuff, right?
It does. Some researchers are even saying emophilia could have evolutionary roots.
Whoa, evolutionary.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm hooked. What's the theory?
Well, one idea is that emophilia could be linked to supersensitivity to oxytocin.
The love hormone, right?
That's the one. So it's like their brains are just wired for stronger feelings of love and connection.
Okay, but wouldn't that make them even more vulnerable to the stuff we talked about, falling for narcissists?
It could, yeah. But from an evolutionary standpoint, there could be some advantages to feeling love so strongly, so often.
Okay, I haven't thought of it like that. What kind of advantages?
Well, picture this. Way back when, life expectancy was way shorter.
Oh, right.
Infant mortality was high. So in that kind of world, falling in love quickly, having lots of relationships, it could have meant more kids. More chances to pass on your genes.
Even if the relationships didn't last that long.
Exactly. It's all about the numbers.
Wow. So it's like a numbers game from an evolutionary perspective.
Kinda, yeah. Now, this is just one idea, of course.
Right.
There's still tons of research to do
to
really figure out this whole evolutionary angle.
But it's definitely interesting to think about.
Totally.
But I'm curious about, the opposite. What about people who don't have much emophilia?
Ooh, good question.
Is there a downside to, never really feeling that crazy rush of love?
That's what's so wild about human emotions, right? High emophilia has its challenges, but super low emophilia, that can be tough too.
Interesting. So there's a sweet spot.
Maybe, yeah. Imagine someone who, almost never falls in love. They might have a really hard time forming deep connections.
Right.
They might always hold back, waiting for, total certainty.
Which never comes.
Exactly. It's like they're watching love from the sidelines,
Yeah.
never really diving in. And that could make it hard to find partners. They might miss out on opportunities.
Because they're waiting for something perfect.
Yeah, something that might not even exist.
Wow. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
But that brings up another point. For someone with low emophilia,
Yeah.
what happens when a relationship ends?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. If you rarely feel that intense love.
Losing someone must be even harder.
It can be, yeah. They might not know how to deal with all the grief and sadness.
Yeah.
It might last longer, harder to move on.
All these little differences in how we feel things
I know, right?
can make such a big impact on, our whole love life.
Totally. And that's why it's so important to be self-aware.
Yeah.
To know your patterns, how they might be affecting your choices.
Absolutely.
So this deep dive really gives us some powerful insights, I think, into how we form bonds and maybe some of the unseen drivers behind the choices we make in relationships. Definitely something to think about as you reflect on connections in your own life.
Thank you for listening to the Sex Science Podcast, brought to you by LaShaw. We hope that you learned something new about the wonderful world of human intimacy and sexuality, and join us next time as we dive into more fascinating research. And remember, science is for you. Music for this podcast was produced by SOUNDRAW.